Hi everyone, I've come to quickly talk about my Facilitator of Learning part of my portfolio. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first one. 2.1 is treat students equitably and respects individual differences and adjust practices accordingly. In my first lesson, it's my gifted assignment where I researched a celebrity and talked about how I knew they would be a gifted student because of their various characteristics and how I would adjust instruction accordingly to help them not drop out of school. My second lesson was I did open word sorts. So a set of students got word sorts that were open and had no categories, and the others did have categories, and they were able to use their critical thinking to create their own categories. And my last piece of evidence for this standard was a graphic organizer that I modified. Again, I took away the labels so that students would kind of have more freedom in choosing what they put in their graphic organizer. 2.2 is understands human development and learning and uses this understanding to create enriching educational experiences for all students. My first piece of evidence is my gifted philosophy. I had researched the nature of giftedness in students and created a gifted program that would best serve all types of gifted students at a school. My second is my position statement on scientific literacy. I used my understanding of a child's natural curiosities and wonders about the world and how I could promote that in my classroom to support scientific literacy. And then most recently, we did a discussion post in my gifted class about enrichment and acceleration and which curriculum models would be best for students depending on the different factors and where they are in the content. 2.3 is create a safe and well-managed, supportive, inclusive, challenging learning environment. So the first thing that I put is our classroom expectations that we made this past year. The students came up with them all by themselves and then signed it, so they kind of took ownership of the expectations, rewards, and consequences. The next was a case analysis on a teacher who was having trouble pronouncing names, and I was able to analyze that and use that in my own classroom if this were to ever come up so that every student felt valued and respected in class. And my last is a presentation I did on the special populations and gifted students and how not all of them are represented in identification processes or gifted programs, and how the things I could do in my own classroom to kind of overcome those and make sure everyone's included in potential identification and gifted programs. 2.4 is uses multiple methods and technologies, resources, and organizational arrangements to meet goals for students. So my first is a jigsaw lesson. I used different types of technology and I used mixed ability groups for students to work in so that they could learn a little bit more about our Explorer, and they were able to also use different levels of texts. I also did a backwards design lesson where we used different types of technology to help with our informational writing and make it a little bit more engaging. And last, I used running records to gather data on my students and put them into groups for reading, into ability groups for reading. Next is my action research project. This goes along with Standard 2.5, where I was able to formally collect data on students and use that to guide my instruction. I was also able to do a base 10 interview where I was able to interview a student and look at their strategies and determine what future instructions to plan for. And also my Google Classroom is what I use to help me communicate with my students. I can give them quick feedback on anything that they've done so far. The last standard helps me communicate results to audiences. So my statistical analysis assignment helped me analyze data. My gifted identification project helped me identify gifted students and give those to our facilitator. And our Spanish conference forum helped me talk to parents at conferences and help them understand what was going on.